My body, my choice. Is it true or not? So in the aftermath of the Roe v. Wade strike down by the Supreme Court, everyone everywhere is still talking about this. It's been 2 days now, and it's on everybody's mind. It's all over every conversation that I've had on social media. This is coming up. Like, this is all anybody wants to talk about. And so this is what we're talking about here today on the Daily Conversation, because what better to talk about than what everyone's already talking about? But I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle here. My body, my choice. We've heard over and over and over again. It's become the mantra of maybe my generation. My entire generation has been the my body, my choice generation. And I hopped on Twitter and just started reading the my body, my choice tweet feed and didn't have to get far to find out that it's being used by people on both sides of the political aisle. So let me read you a couple and then let's talk about it. So Libby Davis says, remember when the mask mandates came out and pro-lifers were like, my body, my choice. Diana really said my body, my choice about the vaccine and then proceeded to overturn Roe v. Wade. And Kalia says, Republicans were so loud with my body, my choice when it came to getting vaccinated. And then you have the other side in the exact same feed. Laura Duncan says, where was my body, my choice when the unvaccinated were fired from their jobs? Alex Gutentag says, progressives really lost all credibility by supporting vaccine mandates. You can't scream my body, my choice after demanding that unvaccinated people be fired, disowned by their families, and excluded from society. It's beyond hypocritical. I Like Cheese says, if you were trying to force a needle into my arm for the last 2 years, I don't want to hear my body, my choice from you now. Now, you can look at this a couple of different ways. One is you can look at our society and say, my goodness, how fragmented we are. We're saying the same words and we're meaning two completely different things. We're never going to be able to get on the same page. We're never going to be able to have a civil conversation about that. Or you could kind of take my approach, ever the optimist, and say, we're all saying the same thing. Literally, we all agree. I was having a conversation recently with one of my Facebook friends on Facebook. He's a much more liberal-leaning person than I am, and generally, we tend to disagree. And with this particular issue, I could tell it was very important to him. He'd been posting an awful lot about it, so I decided to engage and ask him, why is this so important to you? And what I found out was that he was super passionate about people losing rights, about people being hurt, about people having their bodies infringed upon, which is all the same things that I'm passionate about. And so I'm looking at this set of tweets under my body, my choice and going, we're both saying exactly the same thing. Back when it was vaccine and mask mandates, we were saying, I have bodily autonomy. You shouldn't push this down on me. Now that abortion's on the chopping block, the other side is saying, I have bodily autonomy. You shouldn't push this down on me. Now, obviously, there are nuances to both of those issues, and that's the reason why we disagree. But here's where I'm encouraged. And this is what I told my friend on Facebook. I said, if we did agree, I would consider you a powerful ally because you're so passionate about this topic. You're so willing to fight for this topic. And just from a libertarian liberty standpoint, it is a good thing to fight for the rights of other people, even if we disagree about what those rights are and where they come from. And so, as I'm trying to navigate this world myself and help my children navigate this world where it does feel very fragmented, it does feel like we're always on the tip of emotional outrage at just about everything, and somebody needs to get enraged at somebody else all the time, especially in the era of social media where we literally just log on so that we can either extremely like something or extremely hate something. There's very little neutrality in social media. And in that age, it's very difficult to navigate actual, real human interaction. Something that I'm really working on personally is treating humans online like I would treat them in person. And in person, I would be way less accusatory. I would be way less judgmental. I would be way less prone to say things that were incendiary or offensive. I would be much more inclined to hear their viewpoint and to listen to them and to understand why they're passionate about this topic, and hopefully to find some common ground that we can both agree on so that we can be allied around the things that we do agree on. Because here's the problem with topics like this, and I understand this topic in particular, the abortion topic. Conservatives think that progressives are horrible people. Progressives think that conservatives are horrible people. And like I said in my last video, there is no left and there is no right. Those are not real categories. There are only individuals with individual sets of values. No one perfectly subscribes to everyone else's values. It just doesn't work that way. I'm going to disagree with everyone at some point on something. You are going to disagree with everyone at some point on something. It's why marriage is really hard, because we're trying to be one. We're trying to come together in a mutually beneficial relationship and agree as much as we can. And there are still things, very often there are things that we don't see eye to eye on. And so as humans, we have to interact with one another in a way that gets us across the finish line of finding common ground where we can move forward. Because if we stay stuck in this, you're a horrible person, you're a horrible person, we're going to fight with words over and over again and throw the same old tired mantras back and forth at each other, no matter whether or not they're valid or not, we're never going to get anywhere. I was just reading this book here, How to Win Friends and Influence People, still a classic. There's a chapter in there about starting an argument. And I think it would be really helpful for all of my listeners to go and read just that chapter on argumentation and why it's never fruitful. And one of the things that he says is if you can convince someone with hard facts and hard data that they are wrong in a confrontation, it instantly makes them defensive, because we don't like being told that we're wrong. And so, if you are able to put all of the facts in front of them and say you are objectively wrong, the facts do not bear out what you're saying, it will not make them come over to your side. Rather, what it will do is it will likely make them double down on their position, regardless of how valid it might be or might not be. All you're doing is embarrassing them, if you can do that. And most likely what you're doing is not embarrassing them, you're just making them mad. And you're like that too, and I'm like that too. If someone confronts us on a deeply held personal conviction, on something we're passionate about, and says, you're looking at this wrong, our first reaction should be to humbly look at them and say thank you and appreciate that and reevaluate our life. But often it isn't, because we feel personally challenged. We feel like our whole entire world is shaking and everything's coming crashing down. And that's a scary place to be. And I think we need to realize this, especially as Christian parents like I am, and as pro-life people like I am. I think that the data's on our side. But so does everyone who disagrees with me. They think the data is on their side. And if I'm able to show them that the data is actually on my side, but I do that in a way that is embarrassing to them or confrontational or argumentative, all I'm doing is driving a wedge in between their relationship and my relationship, and almost completely foregoing any opportunity that we ever have to work together on anything in the future. I'm making enemies and not friends. And this is why I'm so disappointed in the reaction of Christians by and large. Not all Christians, I've seen some do this really well, but by and large, Christians on social media can be the worst. It's on it. It's just being honest. I am like that sometimes. I admit I've been that way in the past. There are lots of things that I've said and done online that I regret. I shouldn't have said it. I don't even agree with it anymore, but it pops up in my memory feed sometimes and I go, oh, why did I say that? But Christians can be the worst sometimes because we can't communicate our tone online. And so the things that we say, we believe them to be absolutely 100% true. And everyone who disagrees with us is 100% absolutely wrong. And it comes across that way and it drives people further away. And that's exactly what I think has been happening on social media over the last couple of days is Christians who are well-intentioned and very excited and very happy about this decision. And rightfully so. They fought a long time for this outcome. I mean, people on the other side of this issue celebrated when we were losing. You know, when we lost lots of things over the last couple of years. It's not been a Supreme Court in our favor for a long, long time, and a Supreme Court that made decisions in the past that were anti-us or anti our belief system, our value structure. There was lots of celebration for those types of things back then. And so they are entitled to celebrate. We are entitled to celebrate. If you are a pro-life person, there is lots of reasons for celebration. But the way in which we go about our celebration, especially in public, I think is doing more harm than good. I think we need to realize that when someone says this is bad because America is stealing rights from people, even if we disagree that that wasn't a right that existed, even if we disagree that that's not in the Constitution, even if we think we're right, and we might be, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is that there are people who are angry and hurting, and their deeply held convictions have been shaken to the core. And one day, you will be that person. We've already been that person before. I've had that happen multiple times in my life where something I've realized I've thought a certain way and I was dead wrong, or something I believed in for a long time and wanted and was passionate about and went the other way on me. That's not a good place to be. That is a terrible feeling. That is a depressing feeling. And there are lots of people who feel that way right now. And this is a golden opportunity for Christians to extend love to them, for Christians to ask them why they're so passionate about this, for Christians to build bridges instead of burning bridges, so that later, when emotions die down, we can actually have the opportunity to have these conversations in an honest and respectful manner. But what's happening right now is we're losing all of those opportunities because we're just driving people away in the wake of our celebration. It reminds me of an analogy from When Helping Hurts. When Helping Hurts is a fantastic book about international mission work, and they were talking about short-term missions being like an elephant going over to dance with a mouse. And the story comes from a worker from a native country, and a short-term missionary went over there, and they told them that their work when they go over is like an elephant dancing with a mouse. And everybody's so happy when the party music is going on, and the elephant's jumping up and down and being super excited, and the mouse is happy because things are happening and it's a great party. And when the music is over, the elephant looks down and the mouse has been trampled underfoot and is dead. And the analogy is that short-term mission teams from the U.S. go in and help and try to do their best, but they're doing it in such a way that is not empowering to the people around them. It's unsustainable for the ministries that are left behind. And so they're left to pick up the pieces of the bad habits that form from this short-term mission work, this what we think is good, and we'll go back home and we'll say this was amazing, this was awesome, and tell everybody that is from our churches that we did amazing work and we made a huge difference, but really we're just patting ourselves on the back because we left the place worse than we found it. And I feel like that is a very real danger for us in the wake of this decision from the Supreme Court. We are in a very dangerous territory as a church of driving away people who might one day be open to hearing our side of things, who might one day be open to having an open and honest conversation with us, but we're driving them away now because we're celebrating like an elephant in a room with mice, and we're trampling them underfoot, and we're making them feel less than Christian, less than human, and definitely wrong. And that's never the right way to treat a human. And so I want to leave you with these words of Jesus, remembering that we never sacrifice the truth. I'm not telling you to sacrifice the truth or be weak or any of those kinds of things. I'm just asking you to be tactful in the way that you go about this, both in public and when you talk to your children about how do we navigate this world of my body, my choice, and these mantras that keep getting flung at us and this division and all of that. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to think before you post. I'm asking you to ask more questions than you make statements. I'm asking you to be loving towards others and to remember these words of Jesus. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If the shoe was on the other foot and this decision had gone the other way, and the progressives that are currently in the streets rioting were instead in the streets rejoicing, remember how you would feel. And now extend grace to those who are in that position right now. This has been the Daily Conversation. Thank you so much for watching the Daily Conversation. I want to personally invite you to join us in the Daily Conversation. Over on Facebook, you can be part of the conversation. We will be pulling content from those conversations, pulling them right into the show. You'll have the opportunity to actually hash this out with me in person and with the amazing community that we're building over there. You can also do the same thing by leaving a comment here on YouTube, and we'll engage with you there, and let's actually talk this out.